So welcome to Agentic AI, product management, friend or foe. We will go over a few housekeeping slides before we unleash Dean to answer this rather critical question. You already know Dean Peters, our resident AI expert and savant, and based in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm Roger Snyder. I'm based in California in the Santa Cruz Mountains and have been with Productside for over 8 years. Love these webinars, love helping you along in your ever increasing desire to gain knowledge about product management. Next slide. So for those of you not familiar with Productside, formerly 280 Group, we are focused strictly on helping product managers, product owners, product marketing managers get better at their craft. We focus on helping enterprises with complete solutions for transformation. We also offer public classes to help individuals grow in their skills. We like to tailor your content in the private setting for the context that matters most to you. And all of us are invested experts, invested in product management discipline, invested in your success. We want this to be interactive, right? So take a look at the bottom of your panel here. It should float up and give you a little Q&A button. So please enter questions, enter them anytime. We will entertain as many of them as we can during or near the end of the webinar. So keep the questions going. The number one question we receive is, hey, will I be able to watch the recording later? And yes, the answer is yes. You will receive an email with the link in the recording after the webinar has ended. So just wait for that link and then share it with all your friends, because anybody who missed this webinar is going to want to tune in later. That's for sure. And also join us on LinkedIn. Get into a professional learning community of like-minded product managers where you can share your best practices, network with your peers, and just learn about and talk about the most important issues that are issues of the day in product management. All right, quick overview. We've almost done with welcome and housekeeping. We are going to have a couple of interactions to warm up the audience and get an understanding of where you all are in your understanding of agentic AI. Then we'll start laying down some foundations. And we'll then get into the nitty-gritty of how can you apply agentic AI to improve your product management practices, your operating model. We'll also flip the page and talk about, hey, how can you also make sure that you're using agentic AI to improve your business model? And then we're going to get a live demo from Dean on use of agentic AI. So stick around for that. It gets exciting right near the end. And then, yes, we will have wrap up. We will spend a little time answering additional questions. I'm hoping we get lots of them. And yes, there are, as usual, a couple of limited time offers that I will want to share with you. All right, so let's open our first poll, Dean. Let's find out, where are people on the spectrum of understanding about agentic AI?
Absolutely. Let's see what happens with this poll.
So are you building AI agents every day? Wow, that's pretty awesome. Or are you here to resist the AI uprising? Or are you somewhere in between? Let's see where folks are going. Okay, so far,
all right,
dabbling in the dark art,
dabbling, kind of get it maybe. Got at least one person resisting change.
Right. That's all right. We're going to help you along. It's going to be okay.
Not resisting change, resisting the uprising.
Right. Exactly. All right. Looks like we're almost at, okay. Let's end the poll and share the results. Okay. So number one category, I kind of get it, maybe, right? 57% of you all said that. I actually am impressed. 24%. I've dabbled in this dark art. That's impressive. And then, good question. 17%. Is this ChatGPT on steroids? Well, let's get into it then, shall we?
All righty. In effect, I think it's time to play a game, Roger.
Oh, that's right. Second of our warm-up games. Describe agentic AI in 5 words or less using the chat. So again, at the bottom, right next to, on my screen anyway, right next to Q&A is chat. Find the chat, open it up. You already put in some information about where you live. Now, 5 words or less. What is agentic AI? What do you think it is?
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, we're getting some good responses here. All right. Help me do it. Gen AI does that stuff. AI that can execute tasks, smart on. Good. We're getting some good answers. Haven't gotten any pithy, smart, or snarky answers, which I was hoping for a little bit. So for those of you who,
Um,
who align yourselves, yeah.
oh, there's the snarky one. There you go. What? You're not Skynet?
So now, there we go.
There you
Now we're
go.
talking there. Thank you, Craig.
Mhm.
Like I said, it's
I
coming.
like
I came here for some of the remarks. I was not disappointed.
I like do my dumb brain stuff. Yes.
Robots pretending to be in charge. Ooh, I like that one here.
Mhm.
Craig, going all the way back to war games. Was it
Yes.
1983 or
Shall we play a
1981?
game?
Yeah, the old Whopper.
A
Yeah,
young
direct
Matthew
replacement.
Broderick. Yes.
A robot. I for one.
I'm
Yeah.
seeing automation. I'm seeing automate that come up more than one. I saw
Yep.
autonomous.
Yep.
These were good words. Nice.
Nice. Good. We're getting some good feedback here.
Open
Which
the
one is that? Oh,
open the
open the
pod bay doors,
Oh
Hal.
yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. I like the one where it's acting like Siri, right? Open the pod doors, playing the
Mhm.
doors for you.
There you go.
All
Yep.
righty. Okay. So I think we've got everyone warmed up enough. So let's talk about why this matters here. All right. Because there
Hmm.
is a lot of talk about this. We did go out the door with, is it friend or foe here? And I
Absolutely.
think we want to talk about, well, we want to tell a story. And I think, Roger, you have the story that helps us
Mhm.
get this conversation moving.
Right.
So
So the
tell us.
foundations of agentic AI, and Dean will go into more details in a moment, but we're autonomy, accountability, and agency. So here you see a picture of my four daughters, and this literally is 20 years ago. My daughter's 20 years ago, right? And we were out on a forest hike. And at that age, my oldest back then was 7, right? So there she is with a little green hairband, Janine. And at that point, I wouldn't let him out of my sight, right? No autonomy, very little accountability, and only limited agency, right? But as they grew, of course, that changed, right? So let's say, now Janine in ninth grade, riding her bike as a freshman to high school, we would give her tasks. We would ask her, hey, can you please pick up some fruit on the way home? I mean, the market is literally right on the way home from high school. So can you please pick up some fruit? Give her 20 bucks, right? So that's a degree of autonomy. She's out of my sight. She is going to go do a task for us so that we can have a fruit salad tonight for dinner, right? And even a little bit more in terms of the autonomy, she gets to the store. She knows I love strawberries. She goes to the strawberry area and there are no strawberries, but she knows I like blueberries. So that's a little bit of autonomy. She can shift. She'll go over and look for some blueberries, but then there are no blueberries either. Well, now she takes the extra step to actually ask somebody in the grocery area, hey, are there any strawberries or blueberries in the back? And now she's exhibiting what we would call agency. And she also knows I'm a demanding father, and I expect when she comes home from school, there's going to be some fruit in her basket, and I'm going to get some change, right? So there's some accountability going on there as well, right? But even then, in freshman year, when she asked, hey, can I go over to a friend's house for a party on Friday night when the parents aren't going to be home? Nope. There are
Yeah.
limits to the accountability and the autonomy and the agency I was going to allow her at that tender age, even at 13 years old. Okay.
Right. And Roger, I love this story because it's the punchline. Our software as we know it today has grown up. Okay. We no longer as product managers and engineers need to be treating our software as if it were 3 or 4. We
Right.
now are giving it, considerable agency. And so with that, let's give you a definition of agentic AI here. And it's basically AI that autonomously plans, like Roger, you were talking about your daughter, decides, acts, and then here's a really big kicker here. You were talking about the strawberries and the what do you call it, the blueberry
Blueberries.
conundrums here, and basically just saying, hey, also adapts with minimum human input here. So really good there, and we're talking about the embodiment of agency by dynamically adjusting to tasks and objectives without a lot of human input there. So
Absolutely.
the biggest thing is here is agentic isn't just starting to go down the path of reasoning, it's also taking action based on context. It's not surprising why it's doing that. It's been built that way, and it's been basically built on the shoulders of past technologies here.
Right.
A lot of the foundations of agentic AI are not new. I mean, if you look at this, little diagram here, We've had it, AI in this fashion since the late 50s, early 60s here. So it's built on the foundations of expert systems, of specifically into the rules-based AI, with machine learning, with natural language processing, and of course built atop generative AI. So it's no surprise now that agentic AI helps synthesize in terms of reasoning, planning, and memory. Uh, One of the big things we're starting to see is that reasoning being displayed in tools like DeepSeek did about 3 weeks ago, and now
Mhm.
ChatGPT is doing it, and it's showing you that it's moving from inference to reasoning. Well,
Right.
it's that reasoning that was some of the missing pieces here that help us go in those decisions, but it's that reasoning guardrailed by these rules-based systems here, and that's how it's able to solve autonomously. So not only are we possibly facing that, what do you call it, existential crisis as product managers, so are our products. And so we
Mhm.
need to think about it. If we're going to make our products legit AI agents, they need to have autonomy to act independently. They need to be goal oriented in prioritizing tasks. They need to be context aware. They need to be able to make decisions, and of course then operate with that accountability, because otherwise they're just going to become that chalk outline on the floor.
Right. And those, that accountability is particularly important in terms of guardrails. And I know we'll talk about that a little bit more. But
Yeah,
also, like my example, right? Are they going to produce results?
yeah, exactly. At the end of the day, you you wanted a fruit salad. All right,
Hmm.
all right, okay, it didn't have strawberries, fine, you live with it. But at the end of the day, you were looking for that outcome there. All right.
Right.
So let's play a game here again, and let's see in the chat. All right, I want to see in the chat, and are which of these products are agentic and which ones are not? Is ChatGPT, the current version, agentic? You could say ChatGPT yes or ChatGPT no. Tesla
Mhm.
full driving here, yes or no. So I want you to pick one of the products here, or pick all four, and just say yes it is and no it isn't. We're starting to see there. So for example,
Mhm.
Joe put in the said yes to Tesla. Denise said no to
No chat,
ChatGPT,
yes to
yes to
Tesla.
Tesla. Good. All right. What else are we getting? Four. Number four, yes, the Zapier Autopilot. Okay, so we're starting to get some feedback here.
Hmm. 2 and 4,
Two
yes.
and four. We're getting a lot of two
Yeah.
and four yes and one
Hmm.
and two no here. I think we got
Yeah.
a pretty
Okay.
smart group here
Yes, we do.
because
Yeah. Not
yeah,
sure. Good. Good. Honest.
yep, yep. So I think y'all are sort of got that there. Yes. And here are the reasons why. So thanks. And ChatGPT, no, it still requires quite a bit of human in the loop. Send it a chat, prompt, it brings it back. Because, it's just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Tesla, yeah, all right. It observes, decides without a whole lot of input here. Grammarly, no. It suggests edits, but it doesn't really work autonomously. Dean, that's not the verb you're looking for. Um, and then Zapier Autopilot, yeah, it basically, what's really interesting about that product is it's using generative to understand the context and then connects you to their
Mm,
library of tools there. So it is actually using this process of agents and sub agents quite nicely there.
excellent.
But at the bottom end of the day, it's all about autonomy. I don't know, Roger. Does this diagram look vaguely familiar? Who
I've
here, and
seen
maybe
this somewhere
maybe somebody in the chat
before.
could mention, is this a vaguely familiar here? All right.
Right. It
So,
used to
so
be about, well,
I
yeah,
used to we
we'll
used to talk
pause.
about this with agile teams. All right, teams
Hmm.
with high alignment and high autonomy.
That's
So
right.
it's that old conundrum. We need to cross the river, and for those in very strict rules-based systems, basically we need to cross the river, go build the bridge. So there's no trust there, right? And it would be like you telling your daughter, go buy the strawberries without giving any sense of autonomy,
Right.
you know. Or you have the opposite there. Go to the store, get what you like. I got no guardrails. You can imagine maybe she comes back because, she likes bananas. So you have a very banana, all bananas fruit salad here,
Or she just
you
gets
know,
candy.
or
Yeah.
just gets candy. Well, it was fruit flavored, Dad.
That's
Yeah,
right.
right.
Yes.
you know,
Skittles. Skittles
yeah,
makes a good fruit
that's all
salad.
Skittles. Yeah, right. Or,
Hmm.
or Yeah, and then of course there's we don't even want to talk about the chaos that would happen with low autonomy and alignment. So what we really need is again that balance of alignment and that balance of autonomy, so it can make those autonomous decisions here. So this is why we said it's about alignment, agency, and autonomy there.
Absolutely.
Now, Roger, I don't know. What have you heard, seen, or read from product management? I mean, I would imagine you're seeing quite a few articles as well.
Oh yeah. Well, and I was teaching a class last week up in the Great White North,
And did
and
they have
all of the product managers, even though the class was not on AI, all of the product managers were like, "How do I use AI? I need to use
how do I?
AI."
Yeah, let me.
And some were doing it right. Some were using Chat GPT to flesh out personas, right?
Yeah, in the yeah, I was about to say I've noticed in the past year and a half as we've been teaching, so especially for our online classes, we've been seeing students using AI, which is why
Mm-hmm.
we now teach an AI class. It's like, well, if you're going to do it, let's show you how to do it right and not get fired. So yeah, let's talk about its impact on our work on that. And I think we're ready for our second poll.
Mm-hmm. All right. So let's open this one up. We want to know how are, what PM tasks do you think could be replaced now by autonomous agentic AI? And I think you can, yeah, it's multiple choice. So
Yep.
you can,
Yeah,
they
you
can
can
choose
pick
more than
more
one.
than one.
Yes, they can. That's what I thought.
I was just sort of
Here we go.
curious what type of jobs. We've got user stories, market research, synthesized research. It's an interesting that just like jumped out there is pretty
Right. And then some people auto prioritize strategy.
that's
Mm,
interesting. That's an
yeah, auto
intriguing one. I'd like to talk to
prioritize.
those peeps.
That one makes me nervous. I'll be honest. I'll
Well,
own it.
it does, yeah, but so we're seeing a lot of people augmenting their research here,
Yep.
getting a good amount of user stories. I would hope so.
Absolutely. Oh, and that is something that the team last week, they were all using AI to write user stories as
Oh
well.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I
Right.
did a video on that a year and 2 summers ago on how to do that.
And that's
You
just with
know,
Chat GPT, not even
that
agentic.
was just ChatGPT. It's not no, not a big deal.
Yeah.
All righty. So look, we I think we're ready to end the poll here. Just
Yep.
about.
At the poll, and let's share the results.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, number one, run market research. Number two,
Well,
oh,
it
tied
it's a
with
dead
synthesize.
heat. So they're both
Yes,
doing research, but they're synthesizing. I like the
synthesize.
synthesizing the research
Mhm.
there. You know. So yeah,
Absolutely.
a lot of that going on there.
Right.
So awesome stuff there. All right. So let's talk. Let's answer. Whoops, don't need to share the results. So let's answer this question here. All right. Can agentic AI autonomously generate stories? Okay. Yes, it absolutely can. All right. And we not only see articles about it here, but we're also seeing products show up. So for
Right.
example, this stories on board AI user story generator here. We're starting to see products that can answer it. So yes, you for those of you who put down, check that box, it absolutely can help you with your writing user stories, writing epics, writing your Amazon, what do you call it? Working backwards, press release. It's all
Right.
any time of these framing things are very good. I would advise you not to use this as a source of truth, but
No.
as a great
Good.
conversation starter.
Absolutely.
Now, we asked if people were using agentic AI to run market research. We got a lot of feedback. And of course, yes, 1,000 times yes was the answer we found in our research.
Mm-hmm.
For example, you know, when I was looking for articles on this point, how much are product managers using this? I was there was no lack of resource to say like, yes, there are many, 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 many people. In fact, you look at this, we talk about Beam's intelligent agent, but I couldn't turn left or right on the internet without finding a bunch of agentic AI tools for marketing. It seems to be the popular spot like, oh my
The
gosh,
sweet
not
spot.
another not it's look, it's between this, not another in terms of agentic, not another marketing automation tool. And every demo I've seen, I've been to like 3 or 4 O'Reilly conferences online here, and they've all started with the marketing example. So yes, 1,000 times yes. Can
Mm-hmm.
I use AI to automatically and autonomously identify stakeholder? Yes. Um, we're starting to see a lot of that where remember I was telling us about how agentic AI is using a lot of older technologies here. So a lot of sentiment analysis is where the machine learning part comes in, or the what do you call it? The neural net part comes in, where a lot of sentiment analysis is being incorporated because now the great thing about generative AI can pick up that context, incorporate that, and say, hey, look,
Right.
we're getting a and so with that sentiment, then it can also start doing some reasoning against that. And one product I found that was interesting with regards to that was simply stakeholders, where it's doing just
Mhm.
that. The thing about it being agentic is it actually proactively takes action.
Nice.
So unlike a system like says, "Hey, I'm sensing, I'm Sylvester, Shriven over here is a little bit upset
Mhm.
over, something that's happening here." It's like it actually messages Shriven and lets them say, "Hey, we told Dean what's going down here, and here's some things action you can take." So
Oh, I like it.
proactively getting out in
I like
things
it.
here.
So, Dean, we're getting a couple of questions.
Yeah,
Actually,
let's do a question. Let's stop here and do a couple questions.
so go back to question one. There were two
Okay.
questions on that one. How much of writing a user story is actually agentic rather than just generative AI?
Oh, let's wait for the demo.
Okay,
I'm
good.
actually going to show that. I think I can answer that question in the demo at the end.
Good. And then a different
Okay.
one, wouldn't writing users, this is from A Naughty Mouse,
Yeah.
wouldn't writing user stories also need human intervention, like defining the goals or expectations? Would that
So
still be
so so
considered
again,
agentic?
let's
Again, wait for the demo.
show that on. Yeah, got yeah. We'll show. I'm going to answer that on the demo. Great questions, and I'm not trying to blow them off. I'm saying like, good. They landed right in. You know, thank you people for thinking into the future.
Mhm.
Uh, because
And
that's
then
going to be part.
one
Yeah,
about
go ahead.
stakeholders. Let's talk about this one. Wouldn't deep organizational understanding and emotional intelligence be required for stakeholder misalignment?
Absolutely. And this is and we talk about that. Like I said, we look at that sentiment. So if you start, bringing in, whoops, I'm going the wrong way, Roger.
Come on back.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah. We go. If you look at simply stakeholders, so there are systems already who are tackling that issue. So
Mhm.
yeah, and so again, it's just a matter of the data and how the agents are set up. So yes,
There you
stakeholders
go.
are starting to be considered. There's the incorporation of empathy. All
Mhm.
right. Um,
I
Here's the
could.
part, and to answer that question on steroids, can agentic AI autonomously synthesize research? Surprisingly, yes, in ways that are just very eye-opening here. So, for example,
Mhm.
I found a lot on synthetic users. In fact, I was
Oh,
reading
right.
one body of research that actually classifies us humans as Sims, where they actually take human characteristics and then run permutations and combinations on
Mhm.
as we try to get a task done, and then they use that to feed their models.
Right.
So they're basically creating synthetic users, and then they're running simulations off those synthetic users.
Right.
Um, and they're finding they're not getting a degradation. So it's
Right.
not like I'm using an old term, a photocopy of a photocopy, or
Right.
recording of
Right.
recording or recording. They're not finding fidelity being what would you call it?
No
Watered
replicate
down, all
replicate
right, or by
fading.
being diluted in that process.
Right.
So again, just some really surprising use of that. You're seeing that a lot in healthcare right now, well, with synthetic patient data and so forth.
Mhm.
Um, and then question five, can agentic autopilot? Yes, ish. I haven't found anything, or I haven't really seen anything that makes me say like, okay, they've got this locked down.
Right.
The answer is we're in the neighborhood, but with how fast we're all moving here, I suspect this is going to change. This slide is going to be stay about as fresh as a loaf of bread out on a counter. The answer is going to go from yes ish to yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Pulse, interesting product to look at with regards to that. I think their approach
Interesting.
is rather interesting there. So again, the TLDR here is as product managers, we need to evolve with agentic AI or get replaced. Or
Mhm.
another way to put it is you need to evolve or get evaporated in terms of your role. Why? Because your chief information officers and your chief technical officer, I should have CFOs as well, your chief financial officers are likely reading these type of headlines or stats today, and not from, you know, weak blog like places here. We're looking at studies from like MIT, Harvard Research, McKinsey, Deloitte, on Arvix, is it Arzix, Arziv, or what, and then PwC. But
Mhm.
yeah, we're looking at 40 to 70% boost in knowledge work. That's us people in product. Okay. Look at
Yep.
the savings across all sectors here, labor cost reductions, decision making being faster here, government,
Hmm.
they're work spending on governance. So the point here is, uh, you know, we're as we start seeing these headlines and our boss starts seeing those, we're going to sit there and need to make some adjustments there. And I think
Right.
I saw one question here: how much of writing is actually agentic rather than generative? So I think again, when I show the demo, I'll show the connection between generative and agentic very strongly there.
Hmm.
All
Yep.
right, let's see here. Okay. All right, so I think Roger, you had another question for me?
Yeah. So when unlocking insights into consumer behaviors and patient behaviors, so the market research, right? Does the
Mhm.
agentic AI allow for a wide range of demographics? And I think
Oh
I.
yeah, yeah. And I think that's an interesting question here. And I think that gets into our next slide here. So um, enough about our product operating model for the moment, because we still have to get through the business model. We still have to get to the demo. But any questions we don't answer today, I'm going to start there and try to get to afterwards.
And I think we'll have time for some of these questions at the end as well.
All right. Traditional SaaS model. Okay. There's a lot of human in the loop with our traditional SaaS model. In fact, in the early days, it was written like, well, everyone was taught create a dialog box that's, informed from a database, ask a question, put it in there, go to a rules database, and possibly take another action, and then walk a person furiously through, a question and response and what they call in music a canon. There's the request, there's the response, there's the request, there's the response here. And so you had a lot of that human in the loop, and you just see this like, diagram here, just a very simple view of that, where, there's a lot of manual entry. There's people doing a lot of the analysis. Approvals are happening at the human level here. Workflows are laborious.
Right.
I remember several, like, remember all those wizards, 7-step wizards to get something done, banging my head on the desk. Stop, please stop.
Right.
So,
Interviews.
and you pay for features and you pay for seats.
Hmm.
Okay. Now,
Right.
compare that to the agentic world here, where it is designed to remove the human in the loop. All right, it's designed. So it's ingesting in a lot of cases. So a lot of these agents are sitting out there listening to things like IoT. It could be 5G sources, it could be SCADA sources, it could be other types of sources there. It makes real time decisions. It
Hmm.
orchestrates sub agents. In fact, if you look at this diagram, you see this one agent here, which is playing the role of an orchestrator.
Right.
And then it has these sub agents. By the way, each of these sub agents, you notice something. They are very tiny,
Hmm.
very singularly focused. All
Right.
right. And so, but you're building this body of experts. So you have an analysis agent, and that, that's it's just focused on that. So you have a lot of this specialization here and keeping these tiny and singularly focused that allows you to sit there and keep it safe and compliant. It allows you to run this workflow end to end here, and allows you to go to a different business model where your customers are paying for outcomes and usage. So it's not features and seats anymore.
Right. Right. Usage is really important. That's for
In
sure.
fact, if you look at the anatomy of an individual agent here, it's specialized. I talked about that. Expert focused here. It is event driven, and it collaborates with other agents potentially, especially what they call a multi-agent setting here. In fact, we're getting into, if you've got the old Gang of Four your design patterns book, open that book back up. Uh, execution is more it's more interrupt driven as opposed to just pulling and waiting. It triggers on autonomously instead of waiting for human input here, and it has levels of efficiency you can bake in. Of course, it
Hmm.
has that adaptation and then guardrails here. And you have different flavors. I can use a rules base. I can use what they call constitutional governance. Just depends on the scope and the scale and the expense I want to do with that here.
Right. So that's an important one. And can you talk a little bit more about constitutional governance? I
Yeah,
think
so
we've got
constitutional
time.
governance. So for if you're familiar with, what's the difference between like Gemini and what do you call it? With Claude from the Anthropic people. Well, where Google has gotten itself into trouble actually by having rules-based governance,
Mm-hmm.
what Anthropic did was they did a constitutional governance. They took the best rules bases, like from Apple and from others, on how you should operate, and they basically created a constitution of governance, saying here, and they actually set up just a server. That's all its job was, to sit there and say, as a request was made and as a response was going out, go through these governance and then act as an adjudicator.
Mm-hmm.
Use the so it didn't have specific rules. It had these governing concepts to do that. And what you do is you wind up getting a better, more contextually aware response, as opposed to just forcing in a rule where it may not be applicable.
Right. I
Yeah.
like it. Good.
So
And
yeah,
that's going to help us make sure that, like you and I were talking the other day, plan a vacation for me,
yeah,
but know my budget. Maybe that's a rule, but
yeah,
also learn a little bit about my interests by looking at my pictures from my last three
yeah,
vacations, right? And
yeah,
that creates a
yeah.
constitution of understanding of what I like and don't like.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Instead of giving, for example, go out and help me find job offers. All right. Go look at my LinkedIn profile to see what I like, what I like.
Mhm.
That's, you're basically more of a constitution than
By
that.
experience.
So this challenges us with three questions then. What is the value proposition we have to deliver? Because, and we have to ask ourselves, is agentic AI going to become table stakes, or is my goose cooked? Um,
Mhm.
are we selling a product, or are we training? If it's agentic is going to be contextually aware, are we actually training the replacement for our product? And then who's the real user here? Well, sort of like that joke here is like, open the pod doors, Hal.
Right.
Revenue streams. It's going to disrupt our business model. I'm just going to say right there. And so our price,
Mhm.
is it price per user, per use, per AI, per agent, per job completed? Are we going to be selling features instead of outcomes? Are we going to see our marketplaces disrupted? And then the same thing with our customer relationships. Who are we actually selling to? I mean,
Mhm.
think about it. What's product growth led growth possibly look like in the future? Am I going to
Right.
farm out an agent to go and say, go find out these, five offerings here and then come back with the top two? I don't have time to
Mhm.
look at all five. Uh,
Right.
will we stay relevant if agentic AI makes all these decisions? And again, what happens to things like product led growth or
Mhm.
agent led buying here? So let's look at some of these questions here. And how does agentic AI change the product offering here? And you think about it, it means we have to start thinking about curating workflows over features here, right? So it's not just a single, we're not looking at them just a single job here, a single task. We're thinking in terms of more holistically.
The full journey,
We
the full
Yeah, the
customer
full
journey.
journey, right? Yeah, I
Right.
like well put. We have to deliver measurable outcomes, not just functionality.
Right.
Now we've always taught that, but now our product actually has to enable our it's actually going to be sold on how well we measure the outcomes that we achieve for somebody. Are you going to be able to make a fruit salad? Because at the end of the day, that was the job. We want to make a fruit salad.
That's
All
right.
right. So
What's the
did we
outcome?
get? Yeah, it was the outcome we're looking. So it wasn't about the individual, you know, parts of and tasks of it. It was at the end of the day, did we get that fruit salad built? Um, Build AI ready ecosystems. You're going to have to learn how to integrate, and then you're going to have to learn to practice transparency. Otherwise, people just aren't going to trust your work, the agent there. So you're going to be able to show your work. I think some good reading on that would be this article from Harvard Business Review that came out.
Hmm.
What is agentic AI? How will it change work?
Right.
Um, if you're going to read just one article after this would be
This
the
is the
one I would
one.
read.
Yeah, it's a good
Yeah,
article. Yep.
yeah. Um, Getting into question number two here. How does agentic AI impact our business model? Well, we're likely going to have to move more towards usage-based and outcome-driven pricing. Were you able? How many jobs did you
Outcome driven.
start
Right.
that got done, as opposed to how many features and how many clicks you? And instead of based off of seats, it's like, all right, how much? did you consume in models? And I'm going to show during a demo. I'll show how that yeah, how to paint that picture here. Um,
Hmm.
we're going to have to explore partnering with marketing spaces here, and then we're going to have to learn how to, instead of selling features and seats, again, outcomes and usage there. Good article by Bain this past month on will agentic kill SaaS. I think a lot of that had to do with Mark Benioff's comments on
Right.
that topic around the same time.
Hmm.
And then our relationships. We're going to have to start designing our products to think about augmented intelligence with regards to helping AI become those assistants,
Hmm.
those augment that help humans do their teamwork here. That also means how it changes our job, but also changes the role of our customer and the work they do here. How
Right.
do I give them that useful assistant? Ethan Mollick's a great author on that topic with his book Co-Intelligence there. How do we bake in empathy? I look at a lot of these agents that I see out written and I'm like, they don't have real personas in mind. I think that got back to one of the questions we saw earlier on the stakeholders. And it's like, yeah, your agents are going to need to bake in some empathy. How do we bake that in?
Right.
How do we prioritize trust and ethics? Again, you know, open the pod doors, Hal. We don't need our,
Hmm.
you know, would you like to play a nice game of chess?
Right.
From
Yes.
from,
All good
make it,
references. We've got to make sure we
all
take
old
time.
movie references of dystopian future that is now possibly coming to bear. Um,
Right.
yeah, make AI optimize on expertise. Just don't make it about efficiency. Resist, hey, we got to make people work faster. No, we've got to help bring expertise to that person here. That's
Hmm.
where the real gravy train is. If we can sell expertise within our agents here, they're going to become more valuable. Otherwise, agents are just going to become commodities. Just like
Right.
I predicted a year and a half ago, prompts are a commodity. And
Hmm.
and yeah, there's no winning there. So I think PwC had a good article on that as well.
Yep. Yeah. And again, those questions in the chat, we'll provide
Yeah.
links to these major articles in the follow-up email.
Yep. So I want to get to the demo here, but let's go through this questionnaire. So how do we start experimenting here?
Hmm.
Well, there are some zero pay to play agentic tools here. I've put up a few. OpenAI's Operator, of course, just came out recently. Microsoft Copilot Studio, or whatever they're naming it this week, is another place to play. Agent Force, I'd mentioned, what Benioff is doing over there and actually leading a lot of this. Ask UI is a very interesting visual agent here, worth exploring. Claude has an interesting tool. Some of these tools, by the way, allow you to bring the tool off out of the cloud and onto your machine and can actually
Mm.
run your machine. There's like one, like I think it was AutoGen or Auto GPT, where it actually does things like if it can't find a particular Python library or it doesn't have a certain tool, it'll actually go and download it on the computer to get the job done. That's how much
Nice.
agency and autonomy it
I
has.
like it.
And
Hmm.
then we got NVIDIA blueprints. I'm going to get into that one. And there are some low cost or low code tools that you can start exploring today. I'm going to demo some of those today. So we have DataStax Langflow, Agent
Hmm.
GPT. This is the one I was talking about, putting that on your machine. Zapier, we mentioned. Um, Interesting tool here. I'm going to explore some more. The Diffie tool here for creating your applications and chatbots. And then we have Hugging Face, which is a great place for all things to explore here. And I think let's get into the demo because I think we're going to
Yes.
answer some questions.
Right.
And I think we're going to be able to sit there and give you a visual representation of some of the things we talked about. So let me go over here. And the first thing we're going to look at is that NVIDIA blueprints. Now, what I liked about NVIDIA Blueprints is the fact that even if you're not going to use it to build, it is an actual very interesting place to explore. So, for example, if I'm looking on building an agent that's going to take a PDF to a podcast here, it talks about the job to be done. And oh, by the way, pains, gains, and jobs to be done are the keys to the agentic kingdom. Okay. And so it talks
Absolutely.
about and look at that. It uses words like outcomes there. And so if you're looking to create an agent here with sub agents, it gives you a nice little mapping here. So again, this is a really wonderful environment to explore, to look about building. You're curious about building um, assistants here, and it talks about different ones. What was one of the other ones I was looking here? Building an enterprise, RAG, and talks about that. So a really interesting place to explore and noodle around and get some ideas.
Mhm.
Now, another tool I've been having fun with and losing money on is the
Small
data
amounts.
stacks Langflow. So Langflow has its basis in LangChain. If you're familiar with that, LangChain helps you string together things. And what it does, we're doing here visually, and we're seeing, by the way, Roger, remember back in, I think it was between 2005 to 2015, the rise of these visual, what do you call it, software coding tools? Do you
Oh
recall
yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're back.
IDs.
They are
Yep.
back. And they're
Hmm.
helping us build agents here. So, for example, I built a proof of concept shaper agent here, and its job is to take an email, create an opportunity solution tree.
Right.
From that, grab a proof of concept from the best solution idea. From that, generate
Sorry.
multiple epics.
Right. Hmm.
From that, each epic, generate multiple user stories here. Now, I
Hmm.
won't run this because it takes a couple minutes to run here, and I want to leave time for questions here. I will show, though, how my last session, I ran a session this morning here. And so here's the email. Let me make that a little larger so people
Right.
aren't squinting. So I sent it this email, like from the boss. Hey, team, guess what? You get to build something here. Basically a parking assistant here.
Hmm.
And so normally we would have to sit there and do each of this. So basically the agent went through each agent part here. And after it went through it went through the solution tree. It went through the proof of concept. It went through the epics and user stories. Here's what it gave me. And so, again, it talks about the opportunity context. Here's the
Hmm.
opportunity we found the most valuable. We want to focus on working parents. All
Okay.
right.
So
All
it
right. So,
chose that after doing some market
yeah,
research.
after doing a little bit of market dip in there and says, okay, here's our first epic, saving time and convenience. Gives me story, gives me the use case, gives me the stories. Look at that, multiple givens, a when and a then,
Hmm.
and so it has all these stories here. Then it has the next, safety and peace of mind. So it actually and it did this without any human intervention from Dean.
Right.
It just,
So
I all I
let's
did is gave it the email.
hmm So let's talk about a couple of the questions that have come up, right? So
Okay.
at this point, like it chose working parents, right? I would love to investigate that outcome and
Yep.
see, all right, it chose that one. What were say the other two
Right.
that it looked at and discarded, right?
Yeah.
So
So
there's still a human interaction in here. You would
right.
not want to take the results of this flow and present it to your executive team without having looked through the homework and made sure you understood the reasons why
Yeah.
you made these choices.
Right. And you have an option to make those transparent. So for example, I could always loop these into some sort of an accumulator type of. So again, this gets into operating system design. I can put an accumulator out there to start grabbing data. And then at the very end, I can actually create an agent. Now you'll notice that the anatomy of these agents here, they're very singular. These are sub agents. Notice
Focused.
that I have different models. So if something's
Mhm.
more complex, I can pick, for example, I can use Claude if I want to. I can, or Anthropic. I can use, Google. Um, I'm using Turbo right now, but I could use these others depending on the complexity and the type of task.
Mhm.
Notice how the task is written. It's written like a prompt. It's
Right.
basically the generative AI. It's actually
Mhm.
going out to generative AI and asking it, but you notice it's not stopping and waiting to ask Dean anything.
Right.
So, and all I did was I rated my own library here of prompts,
Mhm.
and then said, all right, let's build an end to end. Again, this is a small example here. If we had a few more minutes, I'd run it here, but it runs end to end. It gets good results. Uh, one of the, again, you can actually have it help you write the agents. So here's I actually, put it on
Agents writing
ChatGPT 3
agents.
minute and actually wrote the prompts that
Mhm.
I put in each of the agents here.
Right.
Okay. And then you could even go to other platforms like what do you call it? Like Hugging Space, and you can actually explore there as well. So for example, let's say I don't know where to start. I can
Mhm.
actually import So I actually exported. Where'd it go? Give me. It's looking at it. No, I don't want to. I want lists. Here we go. So here was that flow I just showed you, and now I just imported it into Hugging Face,
Oh yeah.
and I could actually make changes there as well. So
Mhm.
again, you don't have to be stuck to one tool. The nice thing about Hugging Space is you can actually install this. And oh, here's another thing that's coming up. The use of virtual agents is back. So you're going to create a virtual, what do you call it, a virtual machine on your or a virtual instance of your system. So you will have virtual instances and virtual machines
Ah,
running on your computer to run these, so if it does something, it won't damage the actual system here. So you're seeing a lot of these being platformed on the back of these virtual machines as well now. So, for
excellent.
example, it'll create. If I bring Hugging Space back onto my system, I would create in a virtual environment of my current to run on, and that way bring that up, and I could bring that up in a safe context there. Um, there are costs. For example, when I was experimenting with this, cost of scale, I was talking about the different agents and the different API agents. You'll notice that there's different costs for each one here. Using 4.0 Mini was definitely, like I said, I only use it for one or two things, but it had a higher cost. So you can actually see, you can actually helps you get a view of what might happen at scale and when. You can even see the activity that's happening here and then
That's
look at the
awesome.
activity.
So you can prototype here and even get a
Yes,
sense of, well, what would it cost if I were to
right.
launch a service like this? What would be my operating costs?
Well, this is now your MVP. An
Right.
environment like this is now your proof of concept, or what I call proof
Mhm.
of life.
Right.
And you can sit there and put together a few prompts. There's other types of agents I can build. There's
Right.
tool agents, there's data agents here, but mostly I was just doing it through prompt engineering for now, just to prove, no Dean in the loop other than at the beginning, at the end.
Right. Right.
And
No,
that
it's a
was a
really
big
good
thing.
point.
Yeah.
Good. Well, Dean,
Um,
we've got to
yeah.
let's get through our summation and a few
Yep.
offers, and then save a few minutes for
All right.
additional questions
So
because we
starting
got plenty of
today,
questions.
Stop flinging features like a crazed Jira slinging ticket monkey and
Mhm.
start thinking about delegating your day to day tasks. Start
Right.
thinking about agent assisted strategies and getting your work done. Stop selling features and stop making customers do the work, and start thinking of flows instead of features and optimizations instead of outputs.
Yeah. And how are you going to start charging for outcomes?
Yeah,
That
exactly. Exactly.
that I think is actually really powerful for us as product
Yep.
managers. And we will remain in the loop because we need to be creative and think about that.
Yep.
All right.
So
So
I
a
think
few
we got some
special offers.
offers. Let's do some
Yes.
offers, and then let's do some questions and answer, and then with answering questions.
Right. So the links are going to be popping up in your chat. You can save $1,000 on the March OPM live online course, and there's the code for that. We have another special offer on AI. Go to the next slide.
Whoops. There we go.
So AI strategies and product management skills, an excellent opportunity, 10% off for attending today's webinar. You get 10% off for a deep soak on our AI product management course, a fantastic course that Dean and I have been working on. Our next
Mm-hmm.
webinar, a little self-serving, since I'm the one leading the next webinar, but join us on February 26th. If you are a product management leader who has just recently been promoted, we're going to help you become more effective in your first 90 days, right? What are the traps to avoid, and what are the tools you can use to really make yourself a more effective product management leader going forward?
Yep.
And then here's
One
the list.
more, and then I'm going to answer question. I'm going to try.
Yes,
You can try stumping the chump.
that's right. Exactly. We got plenty of questions here, right? All right. And then here's a quick list of our upcoming courses, and a link is in chat. So let's get to the Q&A. I want to
Alrighty.
return back to, wouldn't deep organizational understanding and emotional intelligence be required for stakeholder misalignment?
Yeah, and again, I think given the corpus of data we have, given the ability for reasoning here, given the ability to synthesize, create, the actual proof we're seeing in these synthetic users.
Mhm.
I would suggest that you may not get 100% in the neighborhood, but you're going to get a good enough to keep moving forward. Because even in real life, you only get, you're only 80% accurate anyway in most cases here with regards
Fair
to,
enough.
you interview 100 people here, you never get the full story anyway.
Right. But in terms of stakeholder management too, I think, I
Yeah.
haven't played with that tool yet that you mentioned earlier, but it could scan your company culture and understand some things about it to help establish that context.
And there's introducing governance.
Right. Exactly. Yep.
All right. What other questions do we have?
How should risk be managed when AI agents are considered for heavily regulated industries?
Right. So again, this is where constitutional governance versus rule based. I might use a suspenders and belt approach there. I would have
Mhm.
constitutional governance and I would have rules. You know,
Yes, absolutely.
and the way I might architect is say, okay, go to the constitutional governance first, then go into the rule system here.
And double check.
I mean, if I'm in healthcare, yeah, but I do think a suspenders and belt would help lighten the load here, and help actually direct. Yeah, you would actually, if it's just all rules based, you get the Google type of outputs here.
Right.
So I think, maybe going through constitutional governance and then getting into rules would be architecturally be a smarter approach to getting what you need
So
for that in a highly
create a
regulated.
compliance agent that has ingested the
Yeah.
regulations, right?
Well, you've got a couple agents, right? So one is,
Mhm.
yeah, and they're doing that, and you're going to need a transparency agent. In other words, like
Yep.
that old teacher, don't just give me
Show
the
your
answer to the
work.
math test. Show me your work. So
Mhm.
Dean, we know Dean didn't copy off of Roger's paper.
Right, right. So another question Patrick asked, you didn't really discuss the source of data for the agentic AI. How does it know what a working family is and what it needs?
Well, I mean, that gets into that's the same question we've got into all AI. We teach on our AI course, and that's been the conundrum we deal with any AI. You're only as good as your data. You don't have to go to Agentic to have to ask that and answer that question here. I mean, look what IBM Watson did when it came out in the healthcare space with biased data here. So yeah, you're going to have to again. This is an issue of transparency, and it's also a matter of how do you do self governance here as well. But I think that's a question. It's a good question, but it's a question that applies to any application of AI.
Right. So again, fundamental principles, you are going to have great data sources and you're going to need
Yeah.
to train these agents just like you had to train before.
And you're going to have to avoid drift. In other words,
Mhm.
as things age, they don't stay the same. So you have to keep your models from drifting. You have to keep your data from drifting.
Right. Absolutely.
So you have to it's not only how you train and build them, it's how you keep them up to date.
And that also answers Lisa's question in terms of wide range of demographics when you're doing research. Again,
Yeah.
that's about bringing the right data to the research.
There's that and scale. So for example, let's say I decide to scale, at first I land and expand and I say, okay, I'm just going to do, Virginia, North Carolina, and South Carolina for my cohorts here. That doesn't scale to the entire US.
No.
And then we scale the US, that's not going to scale to the APAC region. So
Mm-hmm.
again, you're going to have to, and so that's really though, that's data training strategies, regardless of whether you're in an agentic world, whether you're just doing generative, or you're just going, with machine learning models.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. So Juan Carlos, I think you know now by now the answer. The key differences between agentic and Gen AI are the three A's, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Autonomy, accountability, agency,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Those three A's are going to give you, or the difference here. Or another way to put it, and like how you put that, Roger, it's, how much it's removing the human in the loop. So,
Mm-hmm.
how much autonomy, how much, agency are we giving this system here with accountability to get us, to the right decision or our outcome?
Right. I like the comment here. So AI, yes, friend of product management. Absolutely. Good insight.
Yeah. In fact, what I would say is it's not your foe as a product manager unless you decide your job is going to be continue practicing what Marty Kagan calls product management theater, where it's all about the activities and the tactics and not about the strategy and the outcomes. So for
Mm-hmm.
those of you who are just sort of like going through the checklist, like, all I do is generate stories, you could be in the candle maker's position there, or was it what the phone operators? They used to have old switchboard
Right.
operators for the phones there.
Mm-hmm.
Skilled job, but a job that eventually went away
That's right.
as technology got better and the technology got more autonomous.
Mm-hmm. So follow-up question to your earlier comment. How do you manage drift?
Yeah. So again, you're going to have strategies of how do I continuously, for example, what areas of my product are going to go stale and how long
Right.
and that means baking in some proactive telemetry. So you probably, I hate to say build an agent to test your agents,
I was
but
just
you
going to
might want
say
to
that's
build
what I would do.
you,
Yes.
you might want to build some agents, sit there and say, hey, is this still relevant? I mean, well, what do I call this? Oh yeah, I would call this the jumping the shark test. Okay,
Mm,
I mean, think about it. It's almost like a television show after a
mhm.
while, or when your parents start using teen slang. Okay, so how do I test for things like that in the agent? It's like, okay, you've given me a response that's really cringe, so I'm
Right.
I'm starting to get a sense of drift here. Or
Hmm.
Fonzie should not be jumping,
Sure.
on water skis,
Right.
in a
Mhm.
leather coat, things like that.
Right. So again, proactive thought, some
Yeah.
good thought about your
Not only
government
thought, but
models
telemetry
and
put those
telemetry.
little warning signals out, little probes. Now we used to do that in humans. I mean, think about like Full Story with their they have a feature there for rage clicks, and someone's
Right.
clicking on the mouse because they're all pissed off. This is well, if you have an agent there. So the communication then goes to the agent saying, okay, Roger's really mad at this feature here. Let
Hmm.
me see his context. Let me get the response to him. Let me see if I can de-escalate it. And meanwhile, I'll start getting, Dean and a few others in the loop here to see if there's a need for follow-up. But the agent
Right.
actually goes out and starts taking action there.
Well, and identifies the need to revisit the model, right?
Yeah,
Maybe
exactly.
we have gotten drift and now we have an agent helping us
Yeah,
manage that drift,
yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly.
All right. Last question. It seems like for early stage startups, product manager for strategy is not needed anymore. Well, I got to admit, early on in my career, there were no product managers in startups, right? Those they
Yeah,
came when you got to about you hopefully had a CEO thinking like a product manager,
yeah.
but it was almost always later that the PMs came.
I'm going to disagree with that. I think what
Okay.
happens is in a startup, you need to think more entrepreneurially. You need to be more.
Mhm.
Remember, you're struggling for product to market fit at that point.
Yes,
All right,
that is true.
you're trying and so your goal here isn't to keep the machine running. It's
Let's
building the
keep, yeah,
darn machine that's going to, goal number one. What's going to sustain the business?
right.
What's going to sustain the business? And you've got to get to that point, before you can start, going into a growth state. So I think agents could be very helpful for that because now think of all that rudimentary day to day you can farm off, and then you can have more time talking to actual human beings, potential customers.
Right. Yep. And I think Ivan just said it right. The product manager role has changed. The startup
Yeah,
product manager should be fast and rapidly deploy and assist in discovery. Make sure the team's building the right thing to solve the right
yeah,
problem. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I would have agents that are just putting stuff out into the wild and getting feedback just as fast.
Mhm.
We almost do that already with so much of the what DevOps has given us in automated testing.
Right.
You
Absolutely.
don't have to look far for that, and some of the things here. Now, there's still a lot of human in the loop on that, so I would imagine that's another area we're going to see some benefits on. But a really strong statement that I agree there, Ivan,
Right.
is that yeah, getting feedback.
Absolutely. All right.
Yeah,
This has been fantastic. Thank you all for your participation and questions. Wait for the follow up email for links to articles as well as the link to this recording. Dean, as always, a pleasure.
yep.
You've definitely blown my mind as well as the minds of several people here in the chat. And
Hey,
thank you all for
well, thanks,
growing the
Roger, and
experience.
thanks everyone for making this a really fun session. I really enjoy these interactive sessions with everyone.
Absolutely. Have a great day, everyone. Go out and make awesome products.